All right, let's get started. Ujjayi, everyone.
Ujjayi.
Happy you all made it out. How y'all doing tonight, first of all? How y'all feeling?
Very good.
Nice.
Actually, I'm going to talk about this right now. That's okay.
Actually, test.
Can y'all hear me?
Yeah.
I'm going to do this right now. Thank you for making it out tonight. We have the honor to come together as a community in this space at this time as we're preparing to discuss individualism and community. But before we go into any of that, I want to first just talk about what the Earth Center even is, a bit about who we are and what we're here to do. So the Earth Center is a nonprofit organization which is currently international, and it was founded by Master Neb Naba Musa Moindinabig in 1996. He is a spiritual master and master healer from West Africa, Burkina Faso to be exact. And he gave us the opportunity in the West to actually reconnect with our ancestral culture and to also reconnect with nature itself, to reclaim what was lost and stolen through colonization. So we definitely want to honor him and acknowledge the sacrifices he's made to even allow the Earth Center to be a possibility here in the States and in New Jersey. We are at the moment the initiates in the realm of representing the New Jersey Temple, which is currently in Fort Lee, New Jersey. So I highly recommend if you have the opportunity or the will to do so, to visit us, and we'll gladly welcome you. The Earth Center has 3 different branches. The first is Firefly Productions. Firefly Productions is our publishing house, and as you see to the right, on my right, your left, we have many books, calendars, magazines, and lectures as well that you can greatly benefit from, so a lot of knowledge in that. We also have Projects Emerita, which you can see, to my left right here. And this is where we do a lot of mission work in Africa, which we know as Merita. So we have well-building projects, temple recovery projects, we soon have a childhood education project, and more to really support those who are doing the work and the traditions in Merita. And lastly, we have the MTOM branch, which is where we have the MTOM School of Kemetic Philosophy and Spirituality. And this is where the initiation really takes place, the education really takes place. And there are 3 classes that we offer within the MTOM school. The first is Madu, which is where we go into language. Madu is also in the kind of the modern world known as hieroglyphs. And in that class, we also go into different lectures talking about mental degeneration and also the traditional culture. The second class we have is Katibi, which is meditation. And this goes into more like the spiritual sciences. And then lastly, we have Suns, which is traditional healing. What is it to be a healer? How does the body function? So this is those 3 classes kind of give you a strong foundation, the tools to navigate through this modern world, deprogram, and to reconnect with what was lost to nature. So with that being said, I want to give Bazati Mehekwer the opportunity to share what he has, but first I do want to acknowledge all the ancestors that have led us here, that have brought us here safely, and that continue to guide us. And Bazati, he is in the first generation of the New Jersey Temple, and he has put many years of dedication, energy, sacrifice into reclaiming his humanity, to honoring his ancestors, and to working with the Earth Center. So I want to welcome him to share what he has to share, and I ask that you open your heart and minds to receive.
So, Ujjayi. Ujjayi is a Kemetic reading. Before I start, of course, gotta give thanks. Give thanks to our ancestors. Give thanks to your ancestors, all the spirits that's coming with us, for allowing us to be here tonight. And I want to give thanks to the Makan, Master Neb Naba Musa Moindinabig, for bridging the gap and bringing us this knowledge to reconnect with our ancestors. And also want to give thanks to the Neteru of the divine world, for guaranteeing us the harmony of this existence. So, I'm going to talk about the individualism, the fall of community. So I want to start off by saying something about power. Power does not come from hate. It's not about seeking revenge, like how we see in these movies. It's not about avenging a family member's death. Power comes from truth. And it's like, you have to know knowledge yourself. You need to know who you are, where you are, when you are, and even why you are. And this is how our ancestors were. They were grounded in all of that. They were grounded in their truths and the knowledge of the stars, knowledge of the dialogue of energies between the planet Earth and the other celestial bodies. They had knowledge in knowing their connection with their ancestors and knowing their bloodlines, their destinies, their connection to the gods. They were grounded in all of this. But, apparently, even with them being grounded in all of this for hundreds of thousands of years, as we can see today, the clothes that we're wearing, the language that we're speaking, the lives that we're living, that we have been moved. At least most of us have been. And, it seems like colonialism found a way to, it seems like they found something more powerful than the gun, more powerful than the cannon. They found a less violent way to unroot us. And how did they do this? With ideas, ideologies, belief systems, religions, these isms and schisms, you name it. Things like racism, sexism, individualism. And this is what we're going to talk about tonight. So let's break down the word individual. Basic definition of individual is single, separate, apart from the whole. But if we check the etymology, the roots to it, break down the prefix in usually in the word, it means, for example, intolerable, incapable, inseparable is not, and whatever word that comes after it. In this instance, we have dividual. Dividual meaning dividable or separate. So the etymology means not separate or not dividable. And the term today, individual, means separate, apart from the whole, single. So pretty much the meaning today is opposite of its original meaning. And this is an example of the English language. The English language is filled with a lot of this. And it has a lot of this. For example, now let's add ism to the individual. Usually when ism is in the word, it's like it's a way of thinking, a way of living. It's philosophical. It's an ideology. Basic definition for individualism is like, living in a way where you are self-sufficient. You're independent. You're independent from your community. You don't really need help from them. You're doing your own thing. And the society is really doing a good job in promoting this individualism into the minds of society. You know, we see on TV, we see these famous people, these Lil Waynes, these Cardi B's, and you know, we could relate to them. It's like, this is the American dream. They're the perfect model of that. You know, all this money, these riches, the fame, you know, everybody knows you. And then we want that. You know, we say that evil gets to the human by using emotions. So, you know, we see these symbols on TV representing this position that we are dedicating our lives to. We want to reach this position by any means necessary. It doesn't matter who we have to step on. Whoever's in our way, we're going to move them out of our way to reach this position. And, you know, with this hope, with these symbols of hope, we'll forever be controlled if we're holding on to these symbols of hope that's coming by colonialism. So there's a story I want to talk about, I want to share. In the indigenous culture, we like to tell stories because the brain accepts the information better when it's in story form. This is why we love these movies, we have our favorite books, because we can put ourselves in the story. We can apply it to our lives. It's very practical. So, by applying it to our lives, this is how we really get the values and the morals. So, all right, the story of Sybaris. Now, Sybaris was a city, a Kemetic city in the Sahara Desert. And no, I'm sorry, not the Sahara Desert. It was near the Nile River Valley region. And this city, some 2,000 years ago, is what we would call a fortified city. Meaning it prevented invasions. It was very hard to conquer. The Greeks and the Persians, they tried many times to invade and conquer this city, but they failed many times. But the Romans, they were observing the many failed attempts of the Greeks and the Persians, and they, you know, took a step back and they studied the situation. And they looked into the structure of the society of Sybaris, and they noticed that there was an order. There was an order in their kingship. It was a hereditary kingship. And it was based on bloodlines. So they had this idea. So one day, they started spreading this propaganda, saying that, you know, why can only their family be king? Why can't we be king? We have rights. Sounds kind of familiar, right? We have rights. So this was a misunderstanding of the traditional culture, because that position of kingship, it is a very big position. You are responsible for the community. You're responsible for lives. This is not something that anyone can just do. You don't want anyone to just lead you. It's not like here in the first world countries, in Western societies, where anybody could be president. It doesn't matter how crazy you are. But, okay, so they started spreading this propaganda. So now, in the city of Sybaris, at nighttime, the gates are closed to outsiders. Anyone that's not from the city, if they don't live there, at nighttime, you had no reason to be in the city. Anyone that would try to visit the city at night, they would be turned away until the sun came up and the gates were open. This is how they prevented invasions. This is what we mean by it was fortified. So So one night, after all these, social interruptions, these protests, the gates were left open. The gates were accidentally left open. Romans came in, they attacked, and the Sybaris army was caught off guard. The Romans had a upper hand. So, the Sybaris army, they had to flee. They left. The Romans succeeded. They conquered the unconquerable city of Sybaris. So, they were celebrating. And, left in the city were, women, children, some prisoners of war, And they said that the Sybaris army will return to reclaim the city. So when the Romans heard that, they got to work. Okay. So what did they do? They started imposing their cultural values, their Roman values onto the people. They started outlawing the Sybaris religions, their gods, letting them know the way you're living is pagan, is evil. You need to be Christianized, praise Jesus and be saved. They were brainwashing the people. And they did a good job. So much so that when the Sybaris army came to return and reclaim the city, they found themselves not fighting just the Roman army, but also their own people of Sybaris. This was supposed to be the Exodus movement, to come reclaim the city, get your people out, or get the invaders out, free your people. And they were overwhelmed. They were fighting the Romans and their own people, so the Exodus movement failed. And this is how easily corruptible the human being can be. This is how vulnerable we are. All the Romans had to do was plant that seed of corruption, that one seed, that little idea. If you plant one seed, you get a lot of corn, you get a lot of harvest. It's the same thing with an idea. Plant a seed of corruption, then you're gonna get all these ideas. You'll be paranoid. All of a sudden, oh, I could be king. Huh. Okay, I don't have to be a lowly farmer. All right, I'll do anything that I can do to reach this position, even if I have to leave the gates open and watch my city crumble all around me. You see, once the individual believed that, someone outside of their community will benefit their individual desires, then they have this tunnel vision. Now they don't care about the community anymore. It's all about gaining their goal by any means necessary. And this is how a lot of social organizations, liberal movements, this is how they all fail. It's social disturbances that happen within, and then the people that you're supposed to be, fighting against or gaining your freedom from, they enter in and they see the little nuances that's happening with your social behavior, and they attack that. They build on that. And then now you find people within the community stabbing each other. There's no trust. No one wants to play their part. Everyone wants that top position. They want to lead. And this is why we say, evil is stronger than good. How long did it take for the Sybaris society to build themselves like that? How many hundreds of years did it take to have that foundation? And then how long did it take for just one person to come, bring in a suggestion, and overnight, the city's conquered. Usually when the leader of a movement like dies or gets locked up or is just removed from the picture, then those movements fail. That's it. It's finished. Evil uses emotions to get to the human. Master Naba, he had came to lecture in New York in the early 2000s, a little after 9/11. And he came to kind of express to people that, we need to go back home. We need to come back to Kebtah. Kebtah is Africa. We don't use the term Africa because it's derogatory. So when I say Kebtah, that I mean Africa. So he was telling us to go back to Kebtah so we can be exposed to what it is to really be a human, to see how we were before we were colonized. Kind of letting them know that, there's really no reason, there's nothing that we have to fight here. But, he was speaking to a group he was speaking to the RBG community, red, black, and green. They're very prideful in their skin color being black. They were emotionally attached to that blackness. And Naba was kind of trying to really get to them, really meet them where they're at and let them know that your skin doesn't really have to do with your culture and who you are. It's really just a surface thing. Your culture is how you honor your ancestors, how you worship your gods and your deities. It's the language you speak. It's your understanding of nature, your environment. That's kind of what really makes you a black person. But, again, like the Sybaris army, like the story in Sybaris, the audience was, they were debating with Naba, saying that he was scared because, they just wanted to fight. They just wanted to say, they're killing us because we're black. We have to kill the whites now. So they weren't really meeting. So Naba posed a question. He said, if I have a good reason for committing evil acts, does that mean it's not evil? And just the way he posed that question. I have this evil, but because I have a good reason for it, it's not evil anymore. So what, is it good? It became a contemporary agreement now. Now we have a reason to do evil and it's not evil, now it's good. And we see this in the history, we see this in human history. We have the Christian Crusades, we have the Knights Templar. These were religious organizations that were responsible for genocides, holy wars, hundreds of deaths, millions of deaths. And, this was all in the name of good, in the name of peace, love, in the name of their God. And, they were coming because, pointing the finger at us, saying that we're pagan. What we're doing is evil. We shouldn't be honoring our ancestors. We need to be praising ourselves, praising Jesus. But, that's just their opinion. We're just as human, just as much as they are. So, for them to be judging us, saying, no, what you're doing is wrong, you need to be like us, it's just an opinion. That's not a reality, because we're just products of our environment. The way we express things in our lives for our survival is going to be different depending on where we live. We could live in the desert, in the mountains, live by the river, in the forest. And the way you live is going to be different. We can't all live the same. This is a reality, but when you are emotionally driven, then again, you'll do whatever it takes to reach that goal, become ambitious. And anyone in front of you, you have to take out. So, that's what we had to do. They took us out of our culture, so we weren't honoring our ancestors no more. Now we're praising Jesus. We don't live in nature anymore. Now we live in these concrete jungles. No trees, no grass, no nature. And we lost our mother tongues. We can't speak our language. We have to speak English or French. It's no more about fitting in with nature. It's no more about, raising our human quality and evolving, becoming alongside the becoming of nature. We gotta now pursue happiness. We have to, get drunk, have orgies, live our best life. Evil uses emotions to get to the human. Before coming to the Earth Center, I didn't want to have kids. I thought that, bringing the life into this world, a world where I didn't even want to be in, I thought that would have been something that was very evil. It's like, I don't want to be here. Why would I bring another life so it could feel the way I feel? That's not right. But then, I got into my initiation, took my rites of passage, and then I gained an understanding that was more universal. And I realized that making the decision to not have children, that would have been the most evil. I'm not just cutting off myself, my life, but everyone that comes behind me, everyone that will come after me, my bloodline, my lineage, I'm cutting all of that off. And this was because of my lack of education. But this is what the system wants. They don't really want us to have kids, again, to pursue the happiness. Some people would say, that the system is broken for teaching us things like that. That needs to be fixed, it needs to be changed, but that's how the system is designed. It's designed that way. They don't want us to have children. They don't want us to create a community, have a common unity. They don't want that. They want us to be divided. That's going to cause chaos in our lives, which is harmony for them, and vice versa. Our harmony is their chaos. So we have a saying. It goes, if you want to move fast, move alone. If you want to go far, move together. So, but here in this Western world, it's like, if you have children, if you have this Western education and, you have children, children are just taking away your freedoms. You can't do whatever you want whenever you want. You now have to plan around their needs. They stifle you, they become a burden. They limit your life. But now if you don't have children, then you could do whatever you want to do. You could, go bungee jumping, skydiving, whenever. You don't have to make any plans, you're not limited. You could live your best life. Do or as much as you can in this one life, because you only get one. It's YOLO. But now, imagine if, you come in with a different understanding, a different perception, a more of a indigenous understanding. Now you're thinking about your legacy. You could pass that down to your children. They'll pass it down to their children, and so on and so on. You could create something that spans generations, lifetimes, and not just one. And this is the importance of family. The human's greatest strength is their ability to come together and unite. This is the purpose of family. Well, I have to be clear when I'm talking about family because, again, we're speaking English. And family, what is family? Family are people that you share values with. People that you share goals with. You're standing on the same principles. You're making plans for the future. You're thinking about the children. This is family. Not really the people that you may come together with once a year on holidays. Those are more like relatives. You may come to one of these gatherings and meet someone that you never met before. But that could be a literal blood relative. They're a stranger though. They might have values that go against yours. It's a reality. So, this is the difference. This is family. We have another saying in the traditions. You can't build your own house if your father's house is fallen. And this is the aspect of family that the society is attacking. We have all these choices, be all you can be whatever you want to be. It's not really about following in your father's footsteps. It's more, again, about your own individual goal, your own dreams, apart from the community. And they do a good job at this. In the media, it's like everyone wants to come to America and come to the land of milk and honey. Especially, people coming from the islands, the Caribbeans, Africa, the indigenous. We want to come here, we want to get the material wealth. But then after 1 or 2 generations, we lose our culture. We lose the language. We become unrooted and powerless. But yet we have all this material wealth. We have these monies, these riches. We have this illusion of power. This is the power of manipulation. It's, it gets to a lot of us. We see these mass movements of people flooding America. Everybody wants to come here. And even if it doesn't make sense, this is what we call herd mentality. It doesn't make sense. We just see everyone doing it. It's a natural human thing. We see people just getting up and run. We're just gonna run. So, this notion of individualism, they really focused during the 1950s and 1960s, they focused this notion of individualism on the woman. And, they, just like in the Sybaris story, the same way they planted this propaganda, it was like, women's rights movement. Why do we have to stay home? Take care of the children, take care of the home, take care of the family. They were downplaying the role of the woman. And it's crazy because the role of the woman is just so important. She's the backbone. Without her, the man is nothing. But, that's what women wanted. They felt like they were being oppressed. They wanted to go work. They wanted to be equal with the man and work. So now the man is out. The man is out working, doing his own thing. The woman out, she's working, getting their own business. Who's home taking care of the child? Who's raising the child? Now we have the system coming in and educating that child. And he's just gonna run out and learn how to be a worker as well. Learn to get his own business, apart from his mother and from his father. And nowadays I'm seeing this trend with your own business. And, there's nothing wrong with that. That's good. We need that. We need to be producers and not just consumers. But, I'm noticing that there's still this individualism aspect. It's like your own business. It's like I feel like there's a little more of a focus on own business rather than black owned business. But, this individualism concept, it's been conditioning us from young, from grade school, started in the classrooms. There's this thing called the learning curve. And it's like they're comparing how the children learn. They're comparing their rate of taking in the education, their rate of understanding. And it's not really, this learning curve is not really allowing children to interact with each other. So there's not really true learning going on. It's really building like competition amongst the students. So, this divide and conquer tactic is very real. Very, very real. It's like they divide us physically. Now we have social distancing, 6 feet. They divide us mentally. These ideologies like individualism. They divide us spiritually. Monotheism, this one God concept. My God is the one true God. No, my God is the one true God. And then we're fighting over this. We're so emotionally attached to this that we're ready to kill for these gods. It's all about division. We're too distracted to really see what's going on. Too busy fighting over these ideologies that we're attaching ourselves to. So now we really can't see who's controlling this. There was this, I seen this ad on the subway of like emojis, smiley faces. And it was like sets of smiley faces. And the first set, 2 people was talking to each other, no mask on. And that was bad. Then the next set, they were talking to each other with masks on. That was okay. And then the next set, one was in the phone, mask on. One was reading a book, mask on. No communication. That was the best. So you see, this is the behavior that they're promoting. They don't want us interacting with each other. They don't want us to be a community. They don't want us to be a unit. They just, robots, just tunnel vision. Go where you need to go. That's it. They want an anti-social society. And, right now, they work in overdrive to get that. With these technologies now, these phones. We're dependent on these phones. We don't have to be dependent on each other. We have these phones that can do everything for us. We don't even have to leave our homes anymore. Everything can come to us now. Now we got this COVID breakout. We don't have to interact with society. We can stay home in our box, and then everything will come to us. Everything comes to me and my dog, because I prefer animals over humans. Because a dog isn't going to tell me, where I need to do better. It's not going to point out my flaws. It's not going to hold me accountable or responsible for anything. And this is what we want. We want our privacy. We want to be alone. But this is just making us weak. Because our strength is in numbers. Our strength is in coming together as a unit. But we're not doing that. We're struggling to do that. And it's like we can't realize what's going on. We're too busy showing off our money. We're too busy showing off our flashy clothes and our fancy whips that we drive ourselves to work for the men. Just like the slave master had his fancy whip that he used to drive us to his plantation. Not much has really changed, but yet we maintain this strong opinion of evolution. But it's been 2022 years. We had this false sense of advancing, but we're doing the same things that we was doing when we was barefoot in the jungles, when we was naked, leaving traps for each other, eating each other. We're doing that now today. Just, we got on some satin, some silk. We wearing gold watches. But we're doing the same thing. And how did we get here? How do we find ourselves in this situation? We have to really slow ourselves down, kind of detach from these distractions and really focus on the picture in front of us. Really analyze how we got here. Break it down. Trace its roots. Let's see what happened previously before this. Ask the questions there. Why did that happen? Let's keep going back. What predated that? And keep doing it. Why? Until we find the answer, until we find our source, some understanding, some logical reasoning. Why? Just like a baby. This is the brain. This is how the brain works. This is how we think. We ask questions in order to receive answers. But, colonialism found a way to counter that too. Counter the thinking of the brain. If you see something that doesn't make sense and you have a question, have faith, have belief. Turn off that thinking process of the brain. Click. Just have faith, have belief. But we have questions and we need answers. So, with these answers, it would lead us to really know, the history of things. Because everything has a history. If someone just comes and says, hey, I'm a nice guy, has a smile on his face, come with me. How do you know he's really a nice guy? If you're using your brain, you look behind him, you see his history, you see the trail of blood that's behind him. And everything has its history. All these isms, these ideas, these religions, these notions, all have history. Individualism has a history. I wanna talk about two pharaohs. One named Ramses and one named Akhenaten. Now, Ramses, today he's seen in this negative light. He's known for, enslaving the Hebrews, putting them in real bad conditions, making them build the pyramids and whatnot. I wear, the mask that I wear is like a pharaoh face. And one time I was getting on the elevator, this guy came on, he was like, "Oh, that's a nice mask." I was like, "Thank you." He was like, "It's King Tut?" I was like, "Ramses." He was like, "Oh," he was like, "Ramses, he ruled for a very long time, like 70 years. He had almost a lot of children, like 300. I was like, "Yeah, he was one of the great pharaohs." He was like, "Yeah, but he sure worked my people really hard." I was like, "So they say." There's this DreamWorks animation called The Prince of Egypt, and even in that movie, it's all in there. They demonize his character, make him seem like an oppressor. And Akhenaten now, if you was to do research on him, you would see that, he's seen in the positive light, for his contributions to the Egyptian culture and his contributions to today's monotheistic religions. But this is history. Contrary to popular belief, the indigenous people have a history as well that they still have, that they maintain. And we're not exposed to that history. All we know is the colonial history that's taught in schools. If we were to be exposed to this other history coming from the indigenous and compare it, we would see it's like night and day. It's the complete opposite. So, according to the Kemetic archives, Ramses was seen as the last respected pharaoh during the decline of Kemet. During this decline of Kemet, from the Greeks, the Persians, people were looking to steal the throne. For example, like Alexander the Great. So he had a lot of children. Ramses had a lot of children. So one day he gathered his children and he asked them, "Which one of you resemble me?" And, they all said, "I do." And he was like, "Yes, you all resemble me." And, one of his priests asked him, he was like, "Why would you say that over 100 people resemble you?" And his answer was, because they're not fighting. They're not bickering. And, what he did was, he told his children, spread yourselves around the world. Create your own tribes and clans. And, he gave aspects of the culture to different groups so that, they all represented different parts of the culture. And they all still needed to depend on each other to come together for the whole. So now, Akhenaten, on the other hand, during his rule, he made a decree that all the temples of worship to all the gods be closed down, except for one, the temple to the sun god. And, he was saying that, all your wishes, your prayers that you send to the other gods, bring it to him. He's going to represent all the other gods now. So, to the Ken people, they're like, one God. They understand that there's many gods. They understand that a community of gods went into the creation of the universe. They understand that You know, there's gods of the elements, fire, air, water, earth, gods of nature, the trees, the rivers, the forests. So to them, it's like this one God notion was ridiculous. So, you know, his rule didn't last that long. You know, nature didn't allow his rule to last too long. And then, you know, once nature took him off the throne, you know, the people, they quickly, anything that was connected to him, they buried it. They didn't, it was a stain on the culture. They didn't want nothing to do with it. Until, you know, these thieving grave robbers, Egyptologists, excuse me. They came, they dug up Akhenaten's remains. And, you know, this was the first exposure of monotheism to the Romans. So let's say the New World. So, you know, there's levels to these isms and schisms. You know, as you can see, they promote the leader that was expressing individualism, and they demonize the one expressing community. You know, maybe this is why the indigenous community, maybe this is why they act so much as a community, because their gods were a community. They had trinities. And maybe this is why in the Western world, you know, we're moving like individuals, because our understanding is one God created all. So, you know, we're just trying to be like the gods. So this is why it's very important to take our education into our own hands. Gain knowledge yourself by connecting back to our roots. You know, you know, we need to be grounded. We need to know who we are. You know, imagine I come to you and, you know, just like in Sybaris, you know, I'm telling you why you want to be a farmer. You could be king. You could rule these people. But now, if you're grounded in who you are, you know that as a farmer, people got to eat. You have to feed everyone. You know the importance of your position. So you looking at me like, what's wrong with this dude? No, you're not going to be moved. You're not going to be unrooted. But, you know, if you're not grounded like that, then just as easily, you know, you leave the gate open. You'll watch your community fall. Before I came to the Earth Center, I was with this revolution organization. This was like, you know, after my woke experience, I gained a little consciousness, became more aware. But it was before spirituality. And we went to go protest at this university in Manhattan. It was me and some other person. And, you know, they gave us these pants to wear. These white pants with this blood stain in the crotch area. And a sign that says, a fetus is not a baby. So we were advocating for, you know, pro-choice, women's right to have an abortion. So, you know, I'm on the campus with my sign, my bloodstained crotch pants. A fetus is not a baby. A fetus is not a baby. Man, it's like I look back at it now, how ridiculous I probably was looking. A fetus is not a baby. But it's like, if a fetus isn't a baby, then what is it? You know, why? But again, why? Why do they have this negative notion on a fetus? You know, like it's not life. I read somewhere, like during the Dark Ages, in Europe around 1100s that, you know, they were struggling to live at those times. They didn't really have medicines. There was a lot of diseases and famine going on. Just, you know, their just survival instinct just wasn't there. And, you know, imagine being in that position. You have no food to feed nobody. Your wife is pregnant now. And you know, when a woman is pregnant, they say that she's eating for two. If she has twins, she's eating for three. So, you know, again, you're struggling to feed people. And then all of a sudden, your wife come out of nowhere, you know, feed us. Feed us. You're gonna do anything that you want. Anything in your power to get rid of that fetus. That is not beneficial to your survival. That's not good. I mean, I don't know if that's really the roots or the origins. That's just something that I read. But, you know, again, like I was saying, you know, I was easily manipulated. And, you know, again, I didn't want to have children. And, you know, it was because of my education. You know, this Western society, that's what they want. They don't want us to have children. It's all about population control, right? Isn't that what Bill Gates is responsible for? You know, then he go to Kebtah and give a lot of vaccines to the women that sterilize them. It's not a secret. So, you know, it's like, you know, don't have children. And for some that may happen to have children, you know, don't worry about, you know, playing your role as a parent. We'll take care of that. We'll parent them. So, you know, you could work for us. And I want to read something out of philosophy. Excuse me. Yeah, this book, this is the Philosophy Podium. It's a book written by the founder, And, you know, this book is coming with a lot. You know, there's hundreds of books out there written about the Dogons, but there's only one book written by an actual Dogon. So, you know, I recommend y'all get this. All right, so we all know that society is both the mother of each individual and the context for each infant to grow intellectually and psychologically. For that reason, we also know that every individual is the product of his or her society, and that the individual is raised in the image of his or her society. We know further that each society teaches us the good and evil that it expects us not to forget. The reality of this relation between the individual and society does not allow any exceptions, and understanding and living in harmony with this law. All traditional societies always took up their responsibilities towards the individual. This responsible attitude of society towards the individual ended with the emergence of the newfangled societies that now dominate the world. So, to better understand what I just read, to really make it more practical, I'll tell another story. There was a chief of an oasis in the Sahara Desert. And this chief had a child. And this child was your typical spoiled brat. And no one in the oasis can approach the chief about his child's behavior. So one day, one of the women of the oasis, they went to the chief complaining about his son, and his response was, "He's just a child. with a little smirk on his face. So from that day on, everyone decided, all right, we won't even bother. One day, a traveler was passing through the oasis, and he stopped by a stream to get a drink of water. And the chief's son wasn't too far from him. And from the position, that the traveler was in, he was on his knees, taking a sip of water. And the chief's son could see that his testicles was exposed. So, he quietly crept over there, grabbed a thorn off a bush, poked the man in the testicles. And the man, in a natural movement to, protect his testicles, he jumped up, fell in the stream. Now, the chief's son is laughing at him. And the man, he's looking at him with all this hate in the world. But he realizes that he's just a child. So, he asks him a question. He says, "Young risk taker, are you not afraid to be punished by your parents?" And the chief's son's like, "My father's the chief of the oasis. He forbids anybody to lay a hand on me." Is that so? Okay, so the traveler took a moment. He reached in his pocket and he pulled out a gold nugget. He said, "If those that love you won't punish you for your bad actions, I'll do more. I'll reward you. I'm just a traveler passing by." "Thank you, thank you, thank you." Chief's son is excited. Traveler gets on his camel and disappears in the horizon. Weeks pass. And, one day the chief he's relaxing, sipping his tea, enjoying the shade from the palm trees. And then he sees a group of women running towards him. One seems to be carrying the body of a child that is dying from wounds caused by a sword. "Chief, someone has assassinated your child. Your son is dead." The chief received this message like a cold shower. He's shocked. Who? Why would someone attack a child? One of the women started explaining. Well, apparently one day he came to buy a big needle and some other things with the gold nugget that he said he received from a traveler for poking him in the testicles with a thorn. He explained that before the traveler left, he made the child understand that he would make a lot more money if he went around poking people in the testicles with an iron needle. So, with his big needle, he went to the stream, waiting for someone to come take a drink, hoping that somebody exposed their testicles. So, when he found someone exposing their testicles with the big needle, he stabbed them in the testicles with all his strength. The man's in pain, agony, he's hurting. The child's laughing. This is better than the first time. The man pulls out a sword, stabs him in the stomach. Now, the chief, in a sort of desperation, he pulls out his sword and he says, "I want all the strong men of the oasis to come with me and to pursue this criminal. Let us pursue this this vicious murderer who did not hesitate to take the life of a child. Come with me to avenge my son's death. So now I pose a question. Who should they go after? Should it be the man that gave him a gold nugget for poking him in the testicles with a thorn? Or should it be the man that stabbed him with a sword for poking him in the testicles with an iron needle? Anybody
Okay.
They should go after the chief.
Yep.
Chief. Exactly, the chief. The one that claimed to love him so much that they didn't bother to put any rules, any restrictions on him. The one that claimed to love him so much that they just watched as he gathered all the recipes within him that would make him a bad person. The one that claimed to love him so much that they just sat idly by as he prepared himself for his own premature death. Where are the responsibilities? And this story is relevant. We see this in our societies, in our communities today, where we can't discipline, we can't even discipline our own children. It's become that serious. We have a t-shirt out, we like to put out these quotes that send out these values and principles. And this one goes, a baby in the womb belongs to her mother, but a baby outside the womb belongs to the world. The community is responsible for the child. We are responsible for educating the children. Because if we don't take responsibility for them, who will? The government won't. With this justice system, they'll just lock them up, say they crazy, give them an electric chair, say we gotta kill them. They're just a bad seed. But the child is just a reflection of the society. They're a product of their environment. You can't just claim the good apples of society too. You need to claim the bad apples. So, we see this all around, and, it's a problem. We could talk about this for hours, for days, months, and years. But instead of talking about the problem, you need to talk about a solution as well. And that's what the Earth Center is coming to bring. It's coming to bring solutions. One of the goals of the Earth Center is to make super thinking humans. Because we're thinking, we're using that brain. They can't manipulate us. They can't take our roles and our responsibilities. We have to start being that village that raises a child. But we're not exposed to that. We don't see that here. This is why the Earth Center is coming. Like I said, we are a collection of tribes that are preserving the knowledge, that is preserving the culture, the principles and the values. If you want to see what it looks like to be a village that raises a child, you gotta come home. You gotta not read a book. You gotta put yourself in it. These societies are still there. They're living, they're thriving. independent from these technologies, independent from Western society. We'll see, if we was to go in the bush, we'll see that all the mothers are parents to all the children. They're fathers. They're fathers to all the children. But we don't see that here. Let a mother find out. Let her get a phone call from school that their child was disciplined by another parent. It's gonna be a problem. She's gonna be running up there ready to fight. Don't nobody touch my child. I don't care what they did wrong. That's my child. Only I punished them, nobody else. As it's like we're just pinned against each other. Pinned against each other based on these identities that is given to us by the colonizer. Again, these notions of white, these notions of black. Oh, I'm black, so I gotta go against white. I'm a man, I gotta go against a woman. And it's just increasing, it's getting worse. Now it's like, oh, I'm vaccinated, I gotta go against people that's unvaccinated. I'm a part of the LGBTQ community, so I have to go against people that are heterosexual. It's just a fight, it's a battle. And it's getting sick. It's like, even pedophilia is coming out there. Oh, I'm a pedophile, so I'm going against people that are not pedophiles. And we're identifying ourselves with these identities that have nothing to do with who we are, nothing to do with nature, nothing to do with the reality, with our society, with harmonizing and becoming and evolving. And it's like, again, we're supposed to be responsible for these children. They're watching us. So now we're gonna impose these identities on the children. But again, like I said, these is problems, but we want to bring the solution. So, the Earth Center is coming to bring this stuff. So if you go back home, every year we go on an annual pilgrimage where you can see the culture. You can see that it's living, it's thriving. We may have things here that they want. We may have the wants, the technology, the fancy living, we have the convenience, but do we have things that they need? We don't really have what they need. Do they have anything that we want? No. These are mud people. They're living in the bush. What do they have? They don't have no conveniences. More like inconveniences. So, but what they're holding is the knowledge, the secrets, the understanding of how to be a human. It's the knowledge that they know that they're holding that allows them to focus on their evolution. Here, we're not really focused on evolution. We have this gift-wrapped illusion that we're advanced because of this technology. But really, this technology is just a result of the destruction of nature. So, the mind only copies. Like I said, Master Naba, he's coming here from home, letting us know that, we have to go back home. He's the Exodus movement that's coming to free us. So let's not be like the people of Sybaris and attack and fight our own people. It's time to go back home. So, I think I've been talking for a long time now. So, if anyone has any questions, now is the time to ask. And if not, then we could close up.
I know that you had went to Maritime a while back.
Yeah.
What were some of the things that you observed in their community structure that you feel that we can really benefit from here in the States?
One thing that I noticed is like women knowing their role and the men knowing their role. You don't really see men and women together like that. It's like the men are with the men, doing what they need to do, and the women are together all with the women doing what they need to do, you know, cooking, cleaning, taking care of the children. The men, they're out in the fields working, they're doing the work, the hard work. And, you know, it's like, there's no confusion there. There's no identity crisis. Everyone knows where they fit. They know what they're supposed to do. And, you know, to me, that was, you know, at first I'm like, why none of the men, why I never see no men with the women? I never see no women with the men. What's going on here? You know, it was confusing to me. But, you know, after really being in it for a while, then you get this understanding, you know, people are just playing their role. They're just fitting in. Yeah, that's what I would say. Yeah, so, I mean, yeah, you know, that's about it. I say thank you for coming out. It's really cold tonight. We could have been home snuggled, drinking hot cocoa, but you're out here freezing with me. So, thank you.
Sharing in this moment with us. For those who are interested in any of the books, the calendars, you guys can go ahead and look around. And for those who are also interested in learning more about the knowledge of the Earth Center or want to know more about the Earth Center, you can sign up your name. You can also follow us on our social media platform. We have our Instagram, we have our Facebook, Kebtah, and we have also YouTube channel that has a lot of lectures if you're interested. We also have our sister partner if you're interested in learning more about healing, learning about herbs for yourself, if you're interested in learning about the knowledge, because right now we're in a society where, like my brother said, there's no community. But how can we get to the community if we don't know how to get back? You know, and pretty much Master Naba came here helping us to get back to what we used to do, because our ancestors used to live the life. They are still living a life that has lost it so many years ago. And if they were doing something that great, for them to be that great, then that means they were doing something good. So pretty much, you know, Master Naba built a bridge for us to find our way back. And how do we do that? Some of us are reading books. Yeah, but we need the knowledge from a person who have lived it, who has been in it, and that's what the Earth Center is bringing right now. So if you're interested, we have a 4th generation coming up very soon, maybe around in March. If you're interested to wanting to learn more about the Medu, the language, if you're interested in learning about meditation, you know, we call it Katibi. The Medu language for it is Katibi. If you're interested in learning about healing, how to heal yourself, how to diagnose yourself, what about the natural herbs and stuff like that, we also teach at which the medicine, the herbs are coming from home, you know, from our farmers. So if you're really interested, like I said, you can sign up. And even the stories that our brother read, we have them in our some of our books. If you're interested, you can go ahead and look at them. And again, thank you so much. We want to thank Brother Joe for inviting us. Silk City, Rich Ground is a very beautiful place, and we really appreciate you guys for taking the time out for coming here with us. Thank you so much.
Do I owe?